Welcome back to the Wizard's Love boat. Actually, it's just a boat, but we've made some progress on it in the last week or two. Mrs. Wizard has made a lot of progress, and I've been chasing down electrical gremlins. There's quite a few on here. I switched from mechanical to electrical. Let's take a look. As we're getting this thing apart and getting all the pieces out so we can work with it, it's really making a mess of the shop. It's just parts and pieces everywhere. But eventually there'll come a point where all this starts going back together and goes back on, and then the boat is out of the shop. Right now we're in the messy phase. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, I've been chasing electrical gremlins. I've been fighting with the electrical circuits to raise and lower the out drives. One button out of 6 would work, the others did nothing. And it was quite a chore to get it all apart. And I've also been chasing some electrical gremlins on the helm itself. Let's go upstairs and take a look. The first electrical issue I've been dealing with is there's these 2 switch boxes that are beside the seat that control up and down of the out drives. And as you can hear, one of them works. The other ones do nothing. And it was quite a chore to get that apart. There was 4 individual little studs. You can see the holes. And the only way to get to them was through the speaker hole down there. That was not very fun to lay on the floor. I don't think they thought that out very well as far as serviceability. So let me show you how I checked this out. I pulled these out. There's some fuses that go to them. And I checked the fuses and they were good. And the next thing I did was get a handy test light and see if there's power. And there is, actually on both of them. So I was wondering, why don't I get power down there at the out drives? Luckily, this boat is not currently surrounded by water, but it's surrounded by an automotive repair shop. So anything that I could dream of that I might need to fix this, I just jump ship and go get it. And one of the tools that I jumped ship to go get was a power probe. And from up here, once I get power and ground hooked to this, I can test the wiring all through the boat without having to run all the way through the boat physically. So like I showed a minute ago, I can check for power. It's happy with that. So I push the button. I know there's power there. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But if I go down here to the other side of the switch and give it power, it works. You go to try the other button, nothing. But we go to that side of the switch that operates. So now I know the wiring throughout the entire boat down to the out drives is fine. I also know that the pumps work. I've also seen that the cylinders go in and out when I operate this. There's only one thing left here, the switches. I imagine over time they've gotten rain and water, condensation things inside of them, and they've gone kaput. But this was very, very handy. We actually have this for sale on our Amazon affiliates page if you guys have never used a power probe. I just cut probably 2 hours of diagnosis by pushing buttons. Very, very simple. But I've gone through and I've checked all the circuits on everything, and up and down work. Everything works perfectly fine. I don't know where in the world I'm going to find these switches. I guess I'll just search eBay or see if there's some kind of aftermarket or something or other, but these ones have reached the end of their life. They're done. I tried squirting some oil into the switches to see if I can get them to come back to life, but no dice. The next thing was the actual blower switch. I've got it actually disconnected and hanging, but what I did was I would turn the switch on and the bilge blower would not turn on. Nothing would happen. So here's the fuse that's next to it. So I turn the power on, take the fuse out, and it's good. Old glass fuses. And again, we use our handy dandy power probe. There's good power there. So I put my fuse back in. And I had checked it to this side of the switch, and there was power there, just like there is now. So I thought, well, maybe the switch is bad, just like over here. But it's not the case, because even when I put power to the other wire to try to make it work, nothing happens. I'll turn the sound off so it's not annoying here. No bilge blower. Nothing comes on. Actually, it's an engine room blower, bilge blower, whatever you want to call it. So I know I've got power. My switch is probably fine, but whatever's going on is either wiring or it's down there in the engine room. More power to the engine room. Oh. Anyways, let's head down there and see what I found. While we're here in the engine room, I'll kind of give a quick update for those of you who haven't been following along. When I bought this boat, this engine ran perfectly fine. Still does as well. This one would crank, but nothing would happen, and there was water in the cylinders when I removed the spark plugs. It's common for this gasket right here that I'm touching to fail, and water actually gets into the engine, and that's what happened. I don't know that it blew a head gasket. It very likely did, because they ran it out of coolant and then they just shut the thing off. So we had the head off. If you check the previous video, we went through it. All new gaskets, cleaned the cylinders, and got it back going again, and it holds pressure, and it runs very, very well. It runs just as good as the other one did. So I have two good running engines. I'm very, very happy to announce that. Here's my bilge blower, or the sad excuse for a bilge blower. I started looking around in the engine room and was like, okay, I'm expecting to see some stock bilge blower that should be down here. And I look and I'm like, what in the world kind of cob job is that? And here's some more of the ductwork over there. You can see the ductwork back there in the corner beside the fuel tank. Why is it not connected over here? I don't know what's going on. But I disconnected the wiring, and I do get power down here to the bilge blower. But luckily with this power probe, it has the ground and the positive. We can take the wiring to the bilge blower. Nothing. So that blower is shot. So not only am I going to take that blower off and throw it overboard, but I'm going to redo it and make it stock the way it was. That right there is something you don't skimp on, is the bilge blower when you have gasoline engines in your boat. You should turn that on for about 5 minutes before you crank the engine, because any gas fumes that might have accumulated in here, if you go to start the engine and there's a spark, boom, you could blow the whole top of the boat off. So that's there for a reason. It's not just there for odors or smells or whatnot. It's there to get the fuel gas fumes out of the engine bay. After you've got fresh air in there, then you can crank your engines up. But that definitely needs to be working. We're going to get that going again. I have found several electrical issues. I've had to actually repair some wiring through here to get these motors to work. But I keep going to switches and things and go, oh, that don't work. Oh, that don't work. And I just can't believe that whoever owned it before me, or even before this guy or whatnot, they were cruising around on the lake with half their options or features not even working. The bilge wasn't even working. The bilge blower wasn't even working. Why would you take a boat out on the lake knowing that so many systems have failed and you could sink or catch on fire at any moment? It's just, we are not going to be chancing those things. We're going to get them fixed and do it right. So now we're going to move on to Mrs. Wizard. She has done tons of work in the interior, and you guys that are into that stuff, or some of you girls too, let's check it out.
So hey everybody, welcome back to the interior. We've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of painting, and I think I'm getting really close to being done with painting. If the Wizard will come this way, you can see I've got this mid-cabin section done. So I've painted these cabinets by their handles, painted the inside of these doors as well. If you remember from previous videos, they just kind of left them and they kind of got paint in different places because they painted this beige. I bet this gray looks so much better. And again, you know, looks a whole lot better. I also painted this shelf. It's the only countertop I actually did paint because I'm just worried that if scratchability on high profile areas like in the kitchen or the galley, that could probably scratch off, and I don't want that to happen. So I did paint this area here. So this section is getting close to getting done. Plus we had that light installed from last time. Makes a big difference in here. So here we are in the galley. I know, big step. It took 2 steps to get here. These areas are done. I know many people are like, oh, don't go to the trouble of painting the interior of the cabinet doors, but I did. If you look at some of the pictures I'm going to put on screen, you can see they were pretty gross and dingy, and the bottoms are like a particle board. That secondary wood is very much a particle board, and it just was starting to dust and get kind of grimy. So I want to paint at least the bottoms, and it adds it makes it a whole lot nicer. I do have liners to go in those drawers as well. Just haven't got that in the mail yet. The last thing I did in the galley here is I did paint the backsplash to match the lower section. And so this looks so much better. And again, I'll leave these areas alone just because I'm just worried about, you know, scratching off and not looking good. Because taking these out, you know, and redoing them is just going to be a lot harder work to do.
That lighting is much nicer.
Yeah, it does. It makes a huge difference. One thing I'm also considering is, you know, let me know what you guys think. I've got a couple things for you guys to think about this time. But one, I was thinking about running some lights kind of along the back here, because many of you mentioned I should have had red lights or red filters to go over the lights. What would you think if I got like some LEDs on a rope light that would be kind of recessed? So let me know what you guys think in the comments on that. So the last area that I've been working on, and I'm still not done because this is taking a whole lot of work and a lot of planning, was there's an old countertop here. If you look at that first video I was in, our second video in the series, you would see that it was kind of it was sloping down. Well, that was because this, and that board were not there. Literally the countertop that was on top of this cabinet only was supported on 2 sides. Now they did screw in about every one of these little dots, but that didn't help because this was all sagging down. And so I didn't go to the trouble of finding the little angle iron I had wood already. So I just screwed them in here. It's not going to interfere with the functionality of the cabinet because it's so far up that you're just not going to, won't be a bother. Then I also added this corner round to help because I'll give you a bit of a preview. Got this to go on top. And then, sneak peek alert. I have got 12-inch granite tiles, black. They're really pretty. That's dusty, but they're gonna look really great up here. Got a nice sparkle to them, but again, it's taking time to get done. So you're guys going to see the rest of that. Hopefully the next video, I'll have all of them in. I'll have some wraps around to help make sure nothing falls off of here as well, but it's going to look really good. And it's sturdy. It's not going to fall down below. So one last thing, guys, and this was the thing I needed your help with, is I've mentioned, you know, leaving this and putting another flooring on top of it. And you guys were like, no, I should take this up. Well, here's my problem. When I take this up, which it doesn't seem to be too hard, and I've never even taken this piece up before. You guys are seeing it for the first time. You can see that glue is still sticky. What should I do with this? I'm inclined to still just go over top of it, but I thought, no, maybe I should do it right. But I'm worried about what am I going to do with this glue on the fiberglass. I'm not used to working in fiberglass. I'm used to working with wood products. And so I need some ideas, and I don't want a huge, sticky, nasty mess. I don't want to end up, you know, all glued together. Okay. So that's my other question. So if you guys could give me suggestions in the comments, I would really love it. Let's go see what the wizard's up to. Wizard?
Yes?
What are you up to?
I'm in the restroom. Come on in.
Okay.
No, I'm not actually using the restroom. I'm kind of checking things out in here. We talked about before we're going to do away with the shower pump because no one's going to be taking showers in here. So this switch will go away. The exhaust fan still works. So we'll definitely be using that. And the light works. The push to flush doesn't do anything. and I've been doing an inspecting on the sewer system, or the, what do you call it, the black water system, and there's just so many issues with it. That entire toilet system is going to be removed and thrown out. So being the fact that when we take this boat out, we're not going to be out on the lake for 3 weeks at a time. We're going to be out for one night, and then we'll spend the other night or two that we're on the boat in the marina where there's restrooms and showers and things. Many of you in the comment section recommended just gut the whole black water system, especially an older one. At any time it could fail and dump the contents into the bilge. And that's what I'm going to do. After checking out the black water tank and looking at all the rigging that's been done to it, I'm just going to gut it out, and we're going to use a large porta potty in place of where the original toilet is. We're not even going to mess with that stuff. Let's take a look. As you can see, that's the black water tank. It's got all kinds of electrical tape or bungee cords holding fittings on. That is not something I'm going to trust or even try to fix or use. I don't need any trouble with the black water system. And I did some checking, and it does have the older style macerator pump that pumps the contents. It grinds up the contents of the black water and just pumps them out to sea or into the lake. That is illegal. We cannot do that on a lake. We're not going to use that system. That whole container and all the piping and everything is going to come out, and we're going to get rid of it. A lot of people in the comments have mentioned going out to sea or being out on the ocean. This boat will never go out onto the ocean. It may have had saltwater use in the past, but it never will again. And being that we're going to be removing all that stuff, and we're not going to be out on the lake for days and days and days on end, like I said, we're just going to use a porta potty. This will be on the next video. I'll have all this stuff removed. We can talk about what we did and what we found. But I'm definitely not going to use the system that pumps the effluent out to the water. That's illegal. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So I've done a lot of engine work. I've done some electrical work. I still have a lot of electrical work to go. But now I'm going to turn into Wizard the Plumber. We're going to be doing a lot of plumbing, I guess removal of plumbing, here in the next video. You guys don't want to miss out on that. Well, thanks for following along, guys. We've made a lot of progress. Mrs. Wizard's got a lot of painting, and the interior is really starting to come along and look really nice. I've done a lot of electrical sleuthing, and I'm still waiting on some parts in order to reassemble the outdrives and all that stuff to get back together again. But now I know why the outdrives wouldn't move. One side would go up and all the other directions were inoperable. Now I know why. I've showed you guys what I found, and I also know why my bilge blower fan wasn't doing anything. And I'm glad I checked it out because it wasn't even installed correctly. So, along with that and the plumbing we just mentioned, we got a lot of work ahead of us. If you're interested in the power probe I was using or any other kind of tools I use in the shop, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut for that and really appreciate it. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, I really recommend you do that now. We've got so much more on the yacht and so much more in the shop. Thanks for watching.